Now, effects buses C and D are your delays. So if we hit select, then that opens up the additional delay parameters. Now there's only 4 underlying algorithms: a mono delay, a filter delay, which is similar but includes a sweepable filter. There's a stereo delay, which is very useful, and a ping pong delay, which gives you a back and forth kind of an effect with the delays. It's also useful, but the ones I use the most are the mono delay and the stereo delay, and I would use them in almost any kind of a mixing setup. I would have one stereo and one mono set up. So let's take a look at the parameters. With the mono delay, you have the time in milliseconds right here. So a normal slapback would be in the range of maybe 145 to 200 milliseconds, really common sound that you're probably used to hearing. And then the time, this is based on the time, if there's an offset of the time. So if the time is set to 145, you might have it go a little bit longer. Now the time can also be set with the tap tempo button. So if you just tap along like this, then you can see that it set it. So if this effect is the one that's selected, then tapping, the time between the taps will actually set that delay. If I tap faster, you can see you can set a wide variety of settings. You can also dial it in directly. Now the reason that you have the offset is if you have this set to a strict quarter note, you actually might want to delay the echo just slightly, like that, maybe 110%, so that the slap doesn't happen right on the beat. It can kind of overpower the beat. So sometimes it's a nice idea on these to set it like this, just a little bit later. Now the other thing you can do is if you want to tap this on the beat, but you really want an 1/8 note echo, then you set this to 0.5, because that would be half of the quarter note, which is what you're going to get for the tap if you tap along with the beat. So that'll set it to an 1/8 note. And likewise, you can set it to intermediate things to get something like a triplet or a dotted eighth. So a dotted eighth would be like 75% on here. So that's kind of how that works. Now feedback is the amount of echo that goes back into the echo unit to come back around again. So the more you turn this up, the more you're going to get echoes that ring out. So with that explanation, I'm going to play back a little bit and I'm going to mix this in with the drums. First I'm going to take the reverb off the drums, and then we'll put a little bit of this into the snare drum. I'll manipulate these parameters, I'll hit the tap tempo, and you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. Before I do that, I'm going to just put this back on 1. We'll turn the feedback to the minimum so we only get one discrete echo.
Breath at a time. In it, I feels like the very first time, but put it on me now. I don't want to go back to my solitary town. Breath at a time. I breathe in one breath at a time. In it, I feels like the very first time, but put it on me. One breath at a time. In it, I feels like the very first time. time. I breathe in one breath at a time. In it, I feel.
All right, so I showed you a wide variety of settings. I switched over to the lead vocal after a little bit. You can also see how that the echoes can be really overpowering if you're not careful with this. Now, a common tape echo effect, slapback echo effect, you'll put this kind of in this range, maybe between 150 up to 183 or something like that. And that gives you a very identifiable common effect. And I like to have something like this dialed in. When you do that with a slapback, then you also don't need really any feedback. Now the thing is, I would normally also combine this with some fat channel processing. So I hit select here, turn on the shelf, and I'll also roll off the highs and the lows. And that way it gives you a little bit more of a tape effect. You can tweak that, the sound of that reverb return, to make it a little bit more lo-fi, and it gives you a more kind of authentic tape effect. Now for stereo delays, which we've got set up here, I'll play back a little bit of that. There's a few more parameters, and so let me just explain how the stereo delay works. Here's your fundamental time, which you would get off the tap tempo. So this would be the time of a quarter note. Now you can do an offset on both time 1 and time 2. That means this is the left side and this is the right side. So the left delay is time 1 and time 2. So you can dial in something like this. So if we dialed in 50 here, then basically it would be an eighth note based on your time setting. And then here, if we dial this into 50, then it would be the same thing. So if you wanted eighth note delays, this would wind up coming out mono. So one of the nice things about having this where there's two different settings is you can make these slightly different. So if you make this one a little bit less, or maybe make that one 50 and this one a little bit more, then you'll get more of a stereo spread. You can also set the feedback, the amount of regeneration or loops through the unit separately for the left delay and the right delay. And then this sets the stereo spread, which is like a pan control for those two delay lines. Kind of like allows you to bring in and narrow that or spread it all the way out. And you can see that you can set that at 1, which is all spread out, or you can have it down here at 0, which basically makes it mono. But controlling that gives you a lot of flexibility. I really like the stereo delay. So I'll play back with this on the lead vocal, and you can get an idea of the effect of the stereo effect by offsetting the left and right delay times relative to the master delay setting. You could also tap this in with the tap tempo.
Like the very first time, but put it on me now. I don't want to go back to my solitaire town. Breath at a time. I breathe in one breath at a time. In it, I feels like the very first time, but put it on me now. I don't want to go back to my solitaire town. Breath at a time. I breathe in one breath at a time. In it, I feels like the very first time, but put it on me now. I don't want to go back to my solitaire town. Breath.
So that gives you a little idea how the stereo delay works. It's very, very interesting kind of delay. The ping pong works a lot like this as well. So if we select this one, you'll see ping pong, if we recall it, it has a little bit of different parameters because you have ping and pong. So basically you have left and then you're going back and forth between the two sides. It sounds like this.
That time. I breathe in one breath at a time. In it, I feels like the very first time, but put it on me now. I don't want.
But anyway, that gives you an idea of how the delay effects and the delay effects parameters work in the Studio Live AI series board. Thanks for watching.